and welcome to video D of our A to Z series. Today we're going to be looking at empowering decision-making. Now, why is patient empowerment important? Well, for one thing, this could bring about improved health outcomes due to the patient's engagement in the process and their active participation, making them more likely to follow medical advice and therefore see improved health outcomes from their treatments. You also might see more personalized care because patients can make decisions for themselves and reach those decisions through open conversation with their healthcare provider. And ultimately, this collaboration will ensure that the patient's perspective is considered and that their autonomy to make their own healthcare decisions is ultimately respected. You also might see better resource utilization because informed patients will make choices that are appropriate for their specific situation, potentially leading to a more efficient use of healthcare resources. Now, what are some tools for decision-making? You can use decision aids like pamphlets, websites, and apps that can provide information on medical conditions, treatment options, and outcomes. You could also have interactive versions of these based on user input that can offer simulations of different treatment scenarios and potential outcomes, helping patients to visualize the impacts of their choices. These could perhaps have financial components like cost calculators to help patients understand the financial impacts of their choices as well. Patient portals are another great option. These can give people access to their electronic health records, where they can see their medical records, their test results, and treatment plans. This transparency will help them stay informed and make better decisions. They can also then have this convenience of scheduling their own appointments and communicating with their healthcare providers. You could also look at support groups, either in person or virtually, which provide emotional support and practical advice from others facing similar challenges to the patient. And these online communities or forums could also allow patients to share experiences and advice and provide additional perspectives for them to consider. A second opinion from another healthcare provider could also offer additional insights and help patients to feel more confident in their decisions. So these are some great options for helping patients to be more actively involved in the decision-making process. Now, what are the outcomes you would see from all these things? Like we mentioned before, you might see improved health outcomes as you see better adherence to treatment and a sense of ownership of the patient's choices. They also might be more engaged in actively managing chronic conditions, so leading to better control of those symptoms and overall reduced complications later down the line. You might see higher quality of care because you have an effective use of resources, as we mentioned before, and patients are able to personalize their treatment plans to their values, their preferences, and their lifestyle. You might also see psychological and emotional benefits like reduction of stress, since patients are in the know for their health journey. And lastly, reduction in medical errors, as there are fewer miscommunications and patients can ask more questions and clarify misunderstandings earlier on in the process, potentially preventing more serious issues later down the line. To close, we'd like to offer an expert tip by noting the efforts of Transcelerate in creating patient-focused e-labels. Now, what is an e-label? This is a complete investigational medicinal product, or IMP label, which can be viewed on an electronic device such as your cell phone and is accessed through the actual physical single panel label on the packaging itself, which would contain minimal information such as a single language, symbols, pictograms, or numbers that are language neutral and are merely there for identification and traceability purposes. Then when you go to the e-label, you'd have easily organized and accessible information, adjustable font sizes, language preferences, and other patient-friendly methods of accessing the information itself. Current problems this addresses are that booklet labels on IMPs are static. They require long lead times to develop, and they're costly in both time and money, and ultimately can delay patients from receiving their clinical trial material. Additionally, this information may not even be helpful to the patient. If it's merely fulfilling regulatory requirements, it might contain vague language such as use as directed, which doesn't tell the patient anything about the mode of administration or anything like that. Print can be as small as 4-point, which is also very hard to read. These are just some of the problems with the current labeling process. The thought here is, again, with a single panel label and a universal label that has that language neutral information, the patient can then access the more detailed information that's required through the e-label instead. Ultimately, this would benefit patients by increasing efficiency in medicine delivery and increasing safety, because patients are actually able to find and read those precautions and other helpful information on dosage, and can also allow for the incorporation of dosing videos and improved usability through options for a larger font size, etc. This ultimately can also help connect the patient with the site more through the inclusion of site contact info and real-time updates. This benefits sites by allowing for rapid access to up-to-date information and lays the foundation for engaging with patients about their medication, as well as efficient labeling. This gives the latest up-to-date information to the patient, including sponsor information, caution statements, and ultimately can also just, again, create efficiency in this process overall, and adds value to the process for sponsors because they might have value adds such as adherence programs or patient analytics or patient education. Ultimately, this goal to move, to help the industry move towards digitally supported patient-centric clinical supply chains ties into our key theme here on empowered decision-making, because if patients are able to more readily access and interact with information for clinical trial material, they will be more in the know in making those healthcare decisions for themselves and feel more empowered in their health journey by having the information they need and knowing who to contact if they have questions. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the video, and we hope to see you next time for Video E, where we'll be looking at effective communication in healthcare.